Nick and Alexis. I have known them for, I think, 8 years, right? I think we both kind of started at the same time.
Yep.
And I met Nick when he was rehabbing his, I think, second house, because I think your first house was your little house.
First one was a solo adventure.
Yeah. And anyways, Nick and Alexis have grown several businesses over the years. They have a flipping business. They have rentals. They do property management. Nick's a general contractor for a bunch of our borrowers. But Nick most recently rehabbed an awesome house in Florissant that he flipped himself. And Nick, how many deals have you rehabbed, do you think?
This year, personally or total?
Total.
I've probably rehabbed over about 350 full interior projects, anywhere from like, $20,000 rentals to $100,000 big old flips.
Yeah. So wide experience, and Nick has seen a lot of stuff, but I was actually getting lunch with Nick a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about his Saddle Ridge deal, which is what we're going to talk about today. And he was sharing a little bit about his story and some appraisal issues. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about on this call, and just kind of share how he worked through that. So Nick's going to just kind of walk us through the whole deal and chat about different issues that came up, and specifically talk about appraisal issues that he dealt with on this house. So Nick's just going to kind of talk for a little bit, and then at the end we'll have questions, and we'll also save some time for people to share any challenges that they might have going on. So
I get carried away, so start waving your hands if I need to stop talking.
Okay. All right, so gonna pop us over to our presentation. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, Nick, I'm gonna pull up the 4 pictures and kind of let you take it from here if you're good with that.
Yep. So this one is the first project that I really picked up under my new goal set of trying to flip 20 houses this year. So I put in place a goal around March that in the rest of the year I was going to flip 20 houses.
For yourself, right, Nick? Not for other people.
Right, personally, because I've only ever flipped a total of 6, 9, 12, 13. I've only done 13 personal flips. The rest of my stuff's been rentals, and then everything else has been invested. So I was really turning up the volume this year. We're going to do 20. So the original numbers on this one weren't amazing, but I was all about the volume. So as long as I could afford to cover the cost of the rehab, and then there was $15,000-$20,000 on the back end, I was good with that. So that's kind of what the first numbers were. That's the kitchen, living room, going through. That's the original kitchen. We kept it
tiny kitchen.
It is, and I kept it pretty much the same. This one was hard with the kitchen because the way it was laid out, it was a really rectangle, and it also needed to be the dining room, so it was an eat-in kitchen. So the minute I started kind of encroaching on any of that other space, then I started to take up the space of where they would put a table. It was also the pass-through into the basement from the living room. So I kind of just kept it the exact same that it is, a little bit more modern. But that was one of the things I was concerned about with the feedback was the kitchen. It just felt really small with that back run of cabinets. Yeah, bathroom, just pretty simple. I knew that was just all going to come out and be redone. So hardwood floors throughout on that one. So it's I love that. The finished lower level in this one was awesome. Crown molding, drywall, can lights, sump pump already done. That's the finished room in a really nice space. So the layout of this house was really good. And that's one of my main things that I look for is the layout, because we can change a lot of the other stuff. They had already done a flood cut. So now the flood cut thing would have normally concerned me a lot, but I got the chance to meet the owner there when I did my walkthrough. And he really, he was a guy that fixed the house himself. He was a private landlord that looked to get into the game, but then his first set of tenants kind of got him out of the game before he even got into the game. So him and his son did all this beautiful work on the home, and then his first set of tenants allowed the basement to flood and just kind of ruined everything he had done. So he was ready to wash his hands of it. So I was able to understand where that flood cut had come from. That's the basement bathroom. Another really cool feature in this house, full bathroom in the basement. It was in a really cool spot. It was really big. I really liked that shower until the end, when I figured out that that was probably my biggest freaking nightmare. The whole project was that shower right there. So yeah, that was the unfinished space. I do a lot here. I do a lot more than most, I think, in this space. I do all the stud walls. I spray all the stud walls black, the rafters black, the walls white, the floor gray. I try to make that space in the room feel as clean as the living room or the bedrooms or any other space. The garage. So that one, this was another little error on my part. So didn't realize it until I bought the house. This was a converted carport. I tried to convert a carport 50 projects back or so the right way, and learned that it's not very easy to do that. It's not as easy as putting up the 3 walls that I thought it was. But that's what they had done here, is they had just thrown up 3 walls and a garage door on a carport. So once I had realized that, I was pretty concerned, because the concrete was cracking pretty bad, and you could still see some of the areas where the old carport was. So I did a little bit more than I normally do in that garage, trying to fix a lot of the damage. So we epoxied the whole floor. I leveled the floor in the garage with some facets, kind of a concrete patcher. And then I sprayed the whole inside black to try to kind of, because once you started looking at it, you could clearly tell that it was a carport with a couple of walls up, and I was pretty concerned about that. So sprayed it all black, made it all really nice and pretty.
Nick, were you concerned about it just from an occupancy point of view?
Yeah, I was concerned that somebody that knew what they were looking at was going to tag it, and maybe call it out, because it still had some, I mean, inside of it were some areas of dirt, old post work.
How can I help you today?
Well,
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, Rachel, can you mute him? Thanks. Okay, Nick, you can keep going.
So I got this deal from a wholesaler, one of my favorite wholesalers, by the way, just because he sends me a lot of stuff. He attributes us to helping him get started. So we bought like the first couple apartment buildings he had listed, and formed good relationships from there. It's a 3-bed, 1-bath, bonus room in the basement, plus that full bath in the basement, where I tried to call it a 3-2, but they don't like that. So purchased it at 127. I think it was marketed to me at 130. I tried to get it 130. I tried to get it 125. We ended up meeting right around there. My initial rehab budget was the 30K, and we didn't really think at the time that we were going to go much higher than 2. I think everybody was pretty confident that 2 was my cap. I think I was somewhere in 205 range when I bought, kind of in my mind when I bought it. It's not the smartest thing in the world, but after 350 rehabs, I kind of know if I'm going to be able to push that line or not. So I was pretty confident that I was going to get this thing over 200 to in that 205 range. It still wasn't a big home run, but it was kind of just me getting out there, starting the volume.
And Nick, what time of year did you buy this one in?
It had to have been right after I made that decision in March, kind of
like early
late March, maybe mid-March, kind of April. I didn't have this one for very long, so I'm going for speed here. Yeah, those are kind of the budgets, how they fell at the very end. So yeah, so a couple things I learned. So I had clogged main line on this. Absolutely hate that. So that's probably the only reason I own a jackhammer is for when these damn main lines get clogged up on the inside of the house. I can get to it and not have to fork over a $10,000 bill. But I've started just having my drain cleaners come and run the snake through, not even scope. I want it cleaned out. Every flip I buy, I just have the drain cleaners come. It's a couple $100 and it's so much peace of mind because after I normally don't find this stuff out until I get 2-3 vanities, a kitchen and a dishwasher going. And, that's at the very end. And now I'm realizing, oh shit, the house can hold a volume of water, the way it should. So I've begun to have my drain company come and clean out the main line normally first. Didn't do that here for whatever reason. And it kind of found me in the middle and I was a little concerned, but it ended up there was a little offset in the pipe. And we had a really dry summer, so the roots were looking for water and they just got a bunch of roots in there. So I got that cleaned. That was pretty straightforward, I would say. I reiterate, I would just run a snake through every drain you get or heavy test before you demo. That's another thing I tend to forget to do that I would like to do more is a heavy test before I even take stuff out. Run 2 tubs, flush every toilet, run the kitchen, see what the house is doing before I go to tearing in on it. But these are all lessons I learn as I go. The shower though, that was new for me. So that shower was all white material. I assumed was like a plastic or a PVC. Really liked it. I was just gonna kind of refinish the pan and clean it up. But then like in the middle of the project, I found a crack in it. And, again, through my experience, I've realized that that's not the worst thing in the world. I got an awesome resurfacer that can come and do fiberglass repairs on what I thought was anything, but apparently that is anything other than ABS because ABS is a non-repairable material. And when you try to repair it, it just, the fiberglass repair won't stick to it. So, I mean, I was stuck there. You stepped on that shower pan and it was like bouncing. So they had not put any kind of like anything under it of any substance. So when you step in there, you could kind of see the crack, feel the crack. There was all air underneath it. And then my resurfacer came and he was just pretty much like, yeah, no, this is PVC. The trick is if you put a little plumbing primer on it or something along that, if you put a little plumbing primer on it and it defaces it and like melts it, then it's ABS and not plastic. Apparently that's what he told me, just if that helps anybody. But it was ABS. He came in there and he pretty much was just like, nope, can't repair it, sorry. And I was just like, I had already tiled the floor at that time. So there was tile in that basement on the concrete right up to this super weird shaped shower. I was like a week and a half from listing the house. And I was just like, yeah, this is not acceptable. So him and I powwowed and kind of tried to come up with a fix. So the fix we come up with is he has this thing called structural foam. So he was able to, but we could not, it's for like when there's air underneath and there's bouncy under your tub, under your shower pan, right? So under normal circumstances, you drill a hole, fill it with structural foam, and then you fiberglass the repair, resurface it, boom, done, easy, no pert. But here, can't drill a hole because I can't fiberglass the repair. So it wasn't done. So he literally went home and I had to buy him this material to test, to run several tests with this structural foam to see actually what we could and could not do with it. So I had a little opening in the utility room. So I'm like, well, fuck, we'll get like a hose and we'll just jam structural foam in there until it pours out every fucking orifice that it, whatever. And then, there we are. He tried it. It doesn't act friendly being forced through a hose. So that didn't work. So we went back to what we came up with, where we were going to try to drill holes in the top of the pan in a pattern that looked like it was meant to be there, you know, maybe like 3 on the outside of the circle, 2 on the inside, 1 by the drain. Fill it with structural foam to the point where it oozed out of those circles, and then cut it off at the top, just in case you could still see the indentations from the drill holes. It kind of looked like a pattern. So that was mine. That was what I came up with, and that's what we did. He was able to resurface it 3 coats to go over the drill holes at the end of the day. So it looked perfect when it was all said and done. You could never even tell that I lost about a week's worth of sleep on that shower pan when it was all finished. Alexis, she ran some really cool cleaner around all the door, and we were able to get it all shined up and clean. Didn't have to resurface that. And we just resurfaced the pan after this big old production with this whole situation, and it worked great. But yeah, that was my interesting part of the journey.
Oh, I forgot pictures.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. So this is the finished product, and and I did way more than I was originally anticipating. But right around the middle of the project is when I can kind of feel out what I got. And when I started to see what I had here, I knew I had a really good house. So I did the siding on the outside. I changed it from I hate that yellow. I don't know what century that yellow is from, but they did every house in it. It just comes like this really faded yellow. So I changed that out. This one was cool because I run into the problem where there's brown gutter and brown fascia and brown roof a lot. And when I want to change the siding, but the rest of that stuff is in good shape, I really find trouble finding something to match that. And I think I did really, really good with this siding here. I think the siding color and the white trim, I think goes with the brown everywhere else so nice. So that was really a cool feature. I went with green to try to give it some color on the shutters and doors, just because I don't see a lot of people doing green. So I think it goes good with that earth tone kind of color on the house. Kept the screen door here. I normally lose it. It was really nice and solid. We extended the sump pump drain out and down, make it a little more sensible there. I did just some basic mulch pits. I do real basic landscaping. I just try to spruce up what's there. You know, around the tree, we put some flagstone I found in the yard around it. Just did some retention pit and laid some brown mulch to kind of go with the other stuff. And those plants were actually already there. Not a big fan of putting plants because they're normally dead in 2 weeks by the time I come back, but those were there and pretty established, so I left them. Again, backyard, I don't know if there was many pictures of the front, but we did a lot back here to make it really look nice. Seeing some of the weird concrete. There's a weird drop off there because there was a jacuzzi on that lower pad before I got it. I was a little worried that looked like it was damaged concrete instead of just the way it was. And then that big bundle of hay there, man, I've been doing this hay carpet stuff on all my yards with dead space, and it works so much better than hay. I just did a house on a 2-bedroom that had almost a desert in the backyard because it used to be a bamboo forest. I laid probably 14 rolls of hay carpet over this entire backyard, and it's almost already got grass. So that stuff works great. That hay carpet works great. All new windows, the whole house. I only did the basement finished area window. The unfinished area windows, I just keep them old. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 of them. It's like $1,000 I save, but yeah. There's my hardwood. So we do I don't know if you can tell from the pictures, and I keep pushing the gray farther and farther. I'm scared I'm going to go into the house one day and the hardwood's going to be the same color as the walls. But I do this gray in my hardwood. So we're up to 5 parts gray, 1 part brown, I think, and that's what it ends up like. I don't like, I'm not a fan of the brown. I'm not a fan of the oak. I'm not a fan of the tan in the gray tone houses. I just try to make my houses flow. So I put gray in the hardwood. When you're in the house, you can see it much better. It has kind of a gray hue over the whole floor. So it looks really nice. And I've been using these black disc lights everywhere. I don't do boob lights anymore when I'm doing flips. I feel like I got a lot of feedback that people just absolutely hated those. I think it's something so stupid to hate because you barely even look at it. You turn it on and you look, that's it. But I got a lot of feedback. People hate those. And then I started using these and I got a lot of feedback that they just absolutely love these. And they're very moderately priced as far as like nicer light goes compared to boob lights. So I've been doing that.
You're good, Nick.
What did I do?
You didn't do anything. You're good.
Yeah, front door, black accents everywhere, black hinges, black door handles. Did not open any walls at this house. Didn't really feel like I needed to. I felt like the kitchen was wide open and big enough, and the living room was kind of small enough that it didn't really need to do anything there. See, the kitchen kept pretty much the same layout. Didn't love it, but once again, I weighed my options. Of turning the corner, of adding an island, of doing an additional countertop kind of in a different space, and just everything I felt like encroached on like their table. I don't like trying to define what size or style of dining room table somebody should have. So on an eat-in kitchen, I like to give them plenty of room to where they can have whatever they'd like. And I don't do refrigerators, never have, even in these littler houses, right? So some people say in like these under $200,000 houses, they'll put the fridge in. The more expensive houses, they won't. Never done a fridge. I've also haven't done shower doors in years and years and years and years and years. And people think that's so crazy. Never even had anybody ask about it. Yeah, fan of that shower. So it looks better in person too, because those little black mosaic sheets are actually glass and they're kind of sparkly and shiny. But I normally do a pretty symmetrical layout, but that stupid window, do you see that? That's just such a dumb place for a window to be off to the right like that. Completely threw off my OCD the day I was trying to design this shower, because a lot of the times I'll design these showers from Home Depot because it's a lot about like, or from whatever I'm getting my tile at, because a lot of the times I need my mosaic to match the level of my ceramic. So I'm kind of bound by what the store has. So I'll go to the store and I'll design it that day. And man, this one I just hated doing it with that stupid window.
It is unusual that it's off-centered. They're always centered.
Yeah, right. I know.
Someone like messed up when they cut the hole for the window.
Did not even realize that until the day I'm designing the shower. And then he shows me a picture of it. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with that. So I was just like, well, just do the whole back wall in mosaic then. And then, yeah, that's what we get.
It looks nice. I like it.
Thank you.
It does look good.
One-piece toilets. I've been doing those one-piece toilets everywhere. Big fan of those. Almost take out of the box and put it down. That's it. Love it. And you kind of see that gray in the hardwood. Some pictures better than others. There's that basement. That one of the reasons I bought that house is because I knew what I could do to that basement. So we did several things there. Small things, the details. So we added a bigger door to that bedroom because the other door was like falling apart. Couldn't make it any taller, unfortunately, but yeah, the bifold door next to it in the utility room, that was just an opening into the utility room, and we widened it and then moved it over because it was kind of in the way of the furnace. So we made that feel a lot better. I don't like things that feel weird. I feel like when somebody's in a house to purchase it, the less like confusion you can give them as they're walking through, the more happy they are about the product. Nothing should feel like, what the hell is this? You know? So like the can lights. The can lights are in really stupid spots in the basement. Did not like that either. But another one of those things, it wasn't worth it to change. So, but you see how with this shot right here, this is like the money shot. And it shouldn't look all sporadic on the ceiling. If you're in the house, they kind of did it in quadrants, 4 in the first quadrant, 2 in that middle, and then 4 in the next quadrant. But they really could have thought that through a lot better when they did that. And just black accents everywhere. Carpet cleaning lady does nice lines. That's my basement bedroom. Came out really nice. Yeah, there's the bathroom over there. There was another opening to the unfinished side over there. We closed off. There's that lower level bathroom. The tile you can kind of see on the floor that was already up to that shower. Little circle mirror. There's the unfinished area. So there was actually a pass through where you can see that black framing up there in the left side. That was actually a pass through to get to the finished area over there by the bathroom. But again, just kind of unnecessary. And I felt like walling that off gave them a lot of functional wall space in that little cubby over there by the bathroom for any kind of a bonus sitting area or just another little space sectioned off from the main part of the basement. Yeah, so I ended up doing a little bit more than originally anticipated, not by much, but the siding and just some of the little touches I had to do at the end to really, I knew if I was going to list it at top of the line that I had to address all of those little things that were kind of jumping out at me at the end. And that's what we did. So even at the very end of this, I mean, I got an agent, it's my cousin, I love her to death. But I used to lean on my agent so much for value of my home back when I was very inexperienced. I used to almost just list at whatever my agent used to tell me to list at. Well, my agent nowadays is my cousin. It's with Better Homes and Gardens. And I don't know if she's done like a whole bunch of like investment stuff before us. I'm just not sure really. But she doesn't so much give me the price that we're going to list at as much as she leans on me for like what I'm looking to list at. So even at the end of this, when she sent me comps, I mean, she sent me comps that were like 168, 185, yeah. And I called her because we have a heavy text message, 1-2 word email, 1-2 sentence in the subject line kind of relationship. So we just shoot information to each other because we're both pretty busy. And she shot that over to me and I was just like, no, we're in the wrong ballpark here, Wanda. So she asked me what I was thinking. My original thought was the 205 mark, and I know I pushed it a little bit. So let's go 215. Let's see what happens there. And so that's what we did. We went 215. I was a little concerned. Got a lot of showings right away. A lot of showings right away, probably 5 showings in the first week or so. But the first 3 or 4 came back, you know, the best showing, you know, 5, just priced too high. You know, first 2 or 3 feedbacks were a little bit high on the price. And I knew I was high on the price, so I didn't take too much into that. And then after 3 showings of, you know, price too high, I get a 4th showing or 5th showing with an offer for 10K over what I'm listed at. So offer comes in 225, no buyer's inspection. So 10K over my list, did not even want to do a buyer's inspection. They were going to do a buyer's inspection for the sake of getting it done, but the purchase was not contingent upon doing anything for the buyer's inspection. They literally just wanted me to pass the occupancy, and there was an appraisal contingency. So that was it. It's supposed to be real easy, simple. I kind of anticipated some trouble with the appraisal, I kind of was going into it thinking I was going to go back down to 215 at some point. Like, all right, I'll go back down to my ask and I'll still be good and everybody will be happy. And so that's kind of what I was biting my nails waiting on as the appraisal was happening and then happened. But no, didn't even get that. Didn't even get that. The thing appraised at 205. It did not even appraise at what I was listed at. So pretty unhappy with that.
So what'd you do?
Okay, so I went through it. So the first thing I do is I told him no. I called Wanda back and I said, no, I'm not going for 205. That's not going to happen. I did tell her then and there that I would go to my list price, but they would have to bring money to the table because I would go back to the market. I wasn't going to do anything else. So I tried to fight the appraisal. So when I fight the appraisal, I did it. The time I did it before this was on a refinance. This was on, an MLS sale. So when I did it before, I was actually working with my lender for the refinance, and he was working with their appraisers. So here it was a little bit harder because I'm working with a buyer's lender and their appraiser. So I'm the guy selling it. Like, they don't care what I say. Of course I say it's worth $1 million. You know what I mean? They say what it is. So I went through the appraisal and I pulled out everything that I thought was weird. And I know that from my network. I have some friends that are appraisers. I talk to them. I get verbiage. I send this stuff over. I ask questions. So there was a bunch of weird stuff. He used 12 different comps to come up with that evaluation of 205. And then I go to the lowest, right? Because those are the ones that are dragging me down, right? So go to his lowest comps. One of them was from a year ago. I mean, we all know what we've been through in the real estate market in the last year. Like, just craziness, madness. How are you possibly pulling from a year ago? I get lack of volume, but I mean, it's been a little volatile to go off of numbers from over a year ago. Then there was 2 split levels that he was comparing to my little ranch, right? And okay, so lack of volume, but then why do we have 12 comps? If there's lack of volume on what we're comparing to, and we have to grab houses from a year ago, and we have to grab split levels to compare to my ranch, why is there 12? That doesn't make sense. I pull up the comps that he used and I start picking out some pretty big inconsistencies. Like, he pulled an unupdated home that had a dilapidated pool in the backyard, and he gave these people like a $7,000 credit for this old shitty pool in this $200,000 house in Florissant, in comparison to my house, because I didn't have a pool. Gave me very little basement credit. I think it was like some stupid number, like $2,500 basement credit for my giant open rec finish with my bonus room, with my closet, with my ceiling, my can lights, my full bathroom. You know what I mean? So there was just a bunch of stuff that I just did not agree with. And then I run that through my network of people that will reconfirm my thoughts. They'll give me, so I'm just not sending an email saying, this is bullshit. I don't like your numbers. They'll give me a bunch of verbiage to say, you did not accurately account for the appreciation of the neighborhood for this and this. And, so I'll kind of put together this email of my thoughts, and I'll send it off to the appropriate authority, whoever that is at the time. I think I sent this email over to my agent with some comps that I wanted to use that were more, and then some of the comps that he used that were more aligned with where we needed to be, but I was being drugged down by all these other weird comps that were in there. So I put all this whole thing together and I send it off to him, and I wait to see what they say. And they said, screw you. They said, we don't care what you have to say. We said 205. So that's what they said. but I wasn't happy with that either. So I told them we weren't gonna. I said, okay, well then I guess we're going back to market. That's where my agents kind of behind the scenes got together, and they went another route. First let me say, one of the reasons I was very comfortable in turning down that appraisal and turning down all of this and saying no is I truly felt like the offer that I had was an offer. It was an emotional offer. It wasn't a logical offer. I took a house that was at the highest of the high in the market, and then they offered 10 grand more than that right away, you know? So I felt like they loved the house. And I felt like they were going to do some fighting on their end and not just walk away from the house because of this. So that's why I felt like I had the upper hand a little bit there in knowing that they really, really wanted this property. So the agents decided to get them to use another lender. They were going to use another lender. Apparently this lender normally appraises at the purchase. So whatever that means to you, it's a little weird to me when they say things like that, but whatever, you know, they normally appraise, let them do it. And so when we do the second appraisal, because even the first time I went to the lender, I paid out the first appraisal and ordered a second appraisal. So even when the second appraisal happens, whether it's the same company or whether it's a new appraisal company and a new lender, I take all that time and energy that I put into picking apart the first guy's appraisal, and then I take all my email and kind of all my information that I've gathered, and then I take his appraisal and I submit that to the new appraiser. And I say, hey, listen, this is what this guy said. I'm not trying to hide it, but look at all the things that he was wrong about. Look at all the weird things that he did. Then I send my wife and my 5-year-old too, because he's really cute and he likes hugs. And they smooth him over and however they got to do that. But that packet of information, I think that this both times I've done it, the second time I've come out exactly where I needed to be, or even better the first time. And I think that is the real winner, you know, because getting these appraisers to go back on their word. I mean, I have yet to do it. I've gotten past 2 appraisals, but I have not yet gotten the same guy that said the low number to say, yeah, you're right, probably more. They stick to their guns pretty hard. But there's lots of different ways to get around. You know, it doesn't just have to be that guy. You know, the first time I paid out the appraisal and ordered another appraisal from the same lender in the same company and just did the same thing. I went in there with all the information that I gathered and I said, hey, look, this is what this person said, but look at this. And I think having something physical there, like that first person didn't have that. That first person that appraised my house low, they didn't have that bar line and then a bunch of information that I can add to raise that bar line. You know what I mean? They're just shooting in the dark. So when I have that second one and I provide both copies of information, I think that's what really, really does it for me. I think when they see what that other person said and it's low, and I can give them a dozen reasons why that thing needs to be higher, I think it's a no-brainer to give me what I need at least.
So then Nick, your total profit.
Yeah, we made 42K on that, and that's that extra 20. Because I was planning on getting 205. I was planning on making 15 to 20K. That was like my baseline when I'm buying all these houses. If I can afford to pay for the rehab, which we do make a little money on owning a rehab company, and then make 15, 20K on the back end, I'm good with that. So I earned that extra 20K right there by dealing with that appraisal, and it was worth every penny, every minute of scouring that email. And I probably spent a couple hours, man, total, trying to figure out all of this stuff because I don't know what I'm looking at all that much either. So when I'm going through these appraisals, I'm like, some of this stuff I got to stop and make a phone call, you know, hey, what the hell is this, you know? So, but yeah, it really paid off for me there, and it turned that one from just one of the ones I'm getting for volume to a really nice win.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that story. We're gonna open it up for some questions. I know I have a couple, but anyone have any questions for Nick?
Hey, Nick, thanks for sharing. I think you may have alluded to this or maybe I missed it, but so you don't account for labor on your rehab. So when we're looking at 42, that's not counting labor on the rehab. Is that correct?
Incorrect. So when I do I kind of use this as like a cheat code for myself, right? So when I purchase my properties, I purchase them and run my numbers as if I'm hiring my rehab company to do the rehab. So I charge myself labor and materials at my standard rate, because if I can do the rehab for you or one of my other investors at that rate, I can do it for myself for that rate. And that's what helps me purchase these houses and make sure that I'm going to win, because I'll account for the rehab, labor and materials, and then I know I can do it cheaper because all my guys are payroll, I own my equipment, all that kind of stuff. So that 42,000 does include $35,000 rehab of labor and materials in that property.
That's
Any
nice because you went on both sides.
Any profit for your construction business in that along the way, or is that just kind of at cost for your construction business?
No, I don't even think about that number, honestly. I run all my numbers and I account for all my numbers at company rate. So there was some profit in there for my labor. And now the weird part with the number there is when I jump in and do a bunch of shit. So I don't know. I don't necessarily charge myself for my own time. You know what I mean? Sometimes that doesn't make it to the bills. But as far as everything my guys do there and all the materials costs and the labor of having them, I charge myself the same way I would charge anybody else.
Very cool. Hey, Nick, I got a couple questions. First of all, did you get just one offer on that house, or were there more than one offer?
It was only one on that one. It was only one, but like I said, it was emotional. I knew from the minute that offer came in, man, that I never even saw the buyers, but whoever that was loved that house, absolutely loved it. So I was just operating off of that the whole time.
I think that's so fascinating that there's people that come in over list when the house has been on the market for a few days and stuff. So anyway, it's the world we're still living in. We're kind of, who knows how long we'll be in this world, but we're still in it. So take advantage of it when you can. I've seen your journey over the years, man. And one thing that I felt like I took away from this call is you've learned how to make really good decisions. And, I was kind of, writing down some of the decisions you made throughout this, you talked about your OCD-ness. You talked about colors for siding and interior and in the hardwoods. You talked about lighting, and you talked about whether to put in a refrigerator or not. You talked about whether to do shower doors or not. You talked about the one-piece toilet versus the two-piece. You talked about what to do with unfinished. You just make so many decisions as the guy that's running the show. And I just feel like you've really got it dialed in where you're making really quality decisions these days. And it's just something I think it was really cool to see. Your finished product just turned out so good. But at the same point, you didn't do the dumb things that, I shouldn't say dumb thing. That was a bad choice of words. You didn't do the things that waste you money. You do the things that you get quality dollars back for quality decisions. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you. I think you're just really good decisions on this one, Nick.
Thank you.
Nathan had put in the chat, did you get any backlash from municipalities when you paint basement framework or ceilings black?
They don't like it. They don't like it at all. But there's nothing. Okay, so I guess I could share this. I don't know why I did not mention this, but so they don't like that. And at Saddle Ridge, I did, is there any, hold on, let me scroll this list. Are there any occupancy inspectors on this list here? You guys, any city inspectors in here? So I got popped at this house. I got popped for everything. I got popped for the plumbing. I got popped for the electric. They tried to pop me for the basement that was already there. So when I got the occupancy permit or inspection, they actually required that I pull a full integrated permit for this entire house at the end. Yeah, that was, I don't know why I did not put that on the slides because that was not fun. He was being very nice to us.
Where were you at in the process? Was the house already listed?
No, I was sold. It was sold.
It was sold.
I was probably 2 weeks away from closing date when I got that information that I needed full integrated permit, drawings, floor plan, you name it, man. I needed it.
Even
So,
though you didn't touch the walls?
yeah.
Did you touch the plumbing outside of just doing new hookups for the sink or?
Again, let me check for any inspectors over here on this. Yeah, no, we did everything. We did everything over there. All the plumbing stuff, you know, and then when they see bathroom remodels and kitchen remodels, they don't really know what to say I did. They just know like you did a kitchen remodel, you know, pull the permit for the kitchen, pull the permit for the bathroom. But then they did see all the updated electrical devices, the lighting, all the updated plumbing. They tried to tag me for that finished basement, but luckily I had pictures from when I bought it. And I'm like, look, this is what that was here. But yeah, so I mean, I wish I had a better answer for like, you know, if you have not been through that, how to navigate through that, but I don't. I just used every connection I had, as well as like some puppy dog eyes and I'm sorry's, and you know what I mean? And like, I called my electrician, I explained it. I called my plumber, I explained it. I drew my permits up same day. So like, when they hit me for that, I am proactive. So he hit me for that. He said, you submit it and I'll pull it and we'll go through it. I think I had my inspection at 11 a.m. I had a full integrated permit with the application submitted by 3 p.m. that same day. And I called him and I'm like, hey, it's there. You know, so he had to kind of wait a day or two to get my electrician and my plumber signed on. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard there. It cost me about an extra $3,000 at the very end because I had some a little, you know, plumbing code stuff to do, some little electrical code stuff to do. So I had a couple little things come through in the very back end, but yeah, we made it through that as well. Not my recommendation.
So Nick, would you recommend people just, especially in Florissant, just getting an integrated permit if they're rehabbing the house or?
Because I do feel like they're cracking down more. You're the
they are.
second person
Just yeah.
a week.
Was that in Florissant or unincorporated St. Louis County?
Unincorporated. It was unincorporated county. So
Yeah, Florissant's still good.
Florissant, we're a little bit easier in Florissant. We're a little bit better in Florissant. And my wife has a property management company with over 80 doors. So she's like my secret weapon. She knows these guys by name. She has the cell phone number of every county, Florissant, Overland, municipal inspector that there is. If I get an inspection, she can shoot him a text message and just be like, hey, Bob, I'll be there, such and such, you know, so that really benefits us a lot. But they are cracking down, yes, quite a bit more. I've been getting in trouble quite a bit more through my experience and my years. There's certain places like I'm untouchable. I can go certain places and the cities just know who I am and they don't hit me for nothing. I mean, I do $80,000 remodels and I'll get, you know, some fire blocking on my list because they know, they've seen us so many times. circling back to your question, Rachel, about the permit, right? That's super hard to answer. I've been thinking about this question because when I talk in October about the rehab process, I feel like that is going to be like a defining question of which way I go to educate somebody on what they should do. Because it's really two entirely different processes of doing this. Pulling a full integrated rehab, running a full integrated rehab project is an entirely different animal than just buying a house, fixing it, and selling it. Okay. So if you're not familiar, if you're a little anxious and you prefer things to go a little bit more, seamlessly, pull the permit, network the trades, have an orchestrator, somebody that understands the picture of the finished product at the very beginning, and then learn the order of operations in which something like this needs to be completed and execute. That's going to be the easiest way to get into this if you're not super connected into different trades and to different ways that this works, right? If you understand what you're doing, if you're connected, if you have trades that'll work with you, if you have licensed guys that deal with you and know what you're doing, I still say, man, most of my investors just go for it. Not to name any names, none of my investors here, all my investors are awesome, do everything we're supposed to do, but a lot of them just go for it and they wait to see what's going to happen on the back end, and we deal with it on the back end because we're able to deal with it on the back end. Have I had to open up walls? Yeah. Have I had to fork a little bit of money at the back end to redo and undo? And yeah. Have I almost every time realized that it was still cheaper for me to do it, redo it a little bit with a license, and then finish it than it would have been for me to do the whole process with the integrated permit? For me personally, with what I can do, it's normally cheaper for you to just do it. That's as honest as I can get with that, answer. You know what I mean? Because without incriminating myself any further.
That's
It
helpful.
is
Thanks, Nick.
interesting because I know most of you pretty well on this call, and I know quite a few of you who never pull permits and just ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And then there are some of you on here that are rule followers.
It's
And
mainly the cities, man. They make you not, like, I'm doing one out in Edian Park. It's like Chesterfield, or what is that? Chesterfield? I mean, they are doing everything to these investors, man. They literally had me put deck bonding plates on a basement soffit where the wood was exposed. I don't even know if you know what that means, but it's just something very stupid. I had to go through 4 different inspections before I passed. I mean, they're just being so hardcore on these ladies for no reason. And it's costing them thousands and thousands of dollars. And you get an inspector that's got a bad day, and you got a whole different inspection than the friendly neighborhood inspector. And that's the unfair part, is they don't follow their own rules. The stuff that they're supposed to tag out, they don't tag out if they don't feel like it. And the stuff that is really no big deal, they'll nitpick to death. Here's the way it goes, right? If your inspector is a retired plumber, get ready to get called out on some plumbing. If your inspector is an old carpenter, get ready to get called out on some framing. These guys go off their knowledge base. They don't go by like a general inspector's guideline. They're like, oh no, my dad taught me better than that. My dad said it's supposed to be 12, not 14. And that's, so that's what you're getting when you're getting these inspections. There's no rhyme or reason. I even stopped recommending, like I thought at one point I had a grip of it, and I'm like, okay, well, we should do X, Y, Z, because you're going to get popped on these inspections. And then I get some of these inspectors that are cheap, and they're just like, no, we don't want to do that. And the inspection will happen and nobody will say nothing. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me just shut my mouth now. I'm just not going to pretend like I know what they're going to hit, because there's really no rhyme or reason to it, honest to God.
yeah, I do think that I've learned over the years, if you're in certain municipalities that are crazy rigid, pull inspections, because they will slap a stop work order on without question.
100%.
And then there's some, but it is crazy because in the St. Louis area, you've got, I don't know, like 90 different types of inspectors,
Right.
all with different rules. So it makes it hard. But Nick, thank you so much for hopping on and sharing your story and a bunch of knowledge.
Thank you for
We
having me.
are like getting to one. Does anyone have any quick last minute questions before we wrap up?
I do have one, and good job, Nick. The place looks great. So, but the simple question I had was the hay carpet that you use for the grass. Where do you get that stuff?
Well,
That-
outside in the Home Depot.
All time. All right.
Yep, it's a 4 foot by 50 foot roll. It's kind of expensive. It's like 40-50 bucks for a 4 by 50 foot roll. But I have literally used it to change backyards that look like deserts into
Well,
something.
I've got one that's a desert right now because we just wiped it out, and I got another one that was gonna have to go there. So,
Yep.
Does it already have seeds in it? Does it come with seed in it, or do you have to also? buy
No, you
seed?
do have to seed. You got to seed first, but very little like tilling or gray. I don't never really do any of that. I
Good.
just toss the seed and roll the carpet and stake it down, and you get grass.
cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, I think that brings us to an end for today. So thanks everyone for joining. We'll be back next Wednesday. I think next Wednesday, we're just going to do an open call so people can just come with questions, challenges, anything you have. So I hope to see you guys next week. And Nick, thanks again. And thank you everyone for joining. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome job, Nick.
Bye.
Thank you,
Great.
brother.